Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel today. Thank you for coming along. Welcome to everybody who's new to the channel. Hopefully you enjoy the content today. If not, it is what it is, like I said before. Today I wanted to talk about Ange and Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, me being an Arsenal fan, I'm always going to have an opinion on Tottenham. I do try to keep it quite balanced. I've said in the previous video that at one point in time I was actually quite jealous of the Tottenham team, back in the mid-10s, like when Poch was there, and they had a very good team with Moussa Dembele, Alderweireld, obviously Kane, Ali, Son. That was the time I was actually jealous of Tottenham, and I was saying, oh, I wish I could just take Pochettino out of there. I'd pluck him, I'd pluck Dembele, I'd pluck Kane, I'd be like, yeah, cool, done. But unfortunately, can't do that. And since those days, we've come a long way in North London, and the tables have turned back to how they should be. But I wanted to have a quick look at Ange and what's been going on there. I know I made a video on Amorim recently as well, and I don't want to be a negative channel, but I feel like I'm not really a negative channel. I have quite a bit of positivity out there, a lot of like opinion based stuff, not just negative connotations, you know. I don't like those sort of channels, so I'm just giving my opinions really. And it's fine, it is easier to talk about like Ange, Amorim, these sort of big club problems, you know, looking at the managers and assessing what they've done, what's good, what's bad. And to be fair, I'm not even going to go in on Ange that hard, I don't think, because I actually quite like him. It's weird. I think maybe it's to do with the Australian like side of him, but he's quite a character, I'd say. You know, he's quite spiky with the media, and I don't mind it. Like he says it how it is a lot of the time. He's not a yes man for the club, and I do quite like that. I don't know why. It's weird to like a Tottenham manager, but that's two of like now in the past 10 years really. Anyway, obviously Tottenham are about 15th in the league, I want to guess. Should have probably checked that before I started, but don't really look that far down the table. Anyway, Tottenham. What has been going on there this season? That's what I'm looking into. So I think there's only one place you can really start, and that's with their injury list. So obviously a lot's been made of Tottenham's injuries since the crisis started back in November times, and I have differing opinions on this injury crisis supposedly they have. Obviously I know they've been having to play without centre halves basically, but I struggle to have sympathy with Tottenham over their injuries, because I do feel like they're caused by themselves. Like, it's caused by the system. So they should have come into the season knowing that injuries are a possibility in defence, and had more cover, spent more money in defence. You know, because, sorry about the sun guys, I can't really block it out, but yeah, if you look at Van de Ven, he relies on his pace and the recovery. So obviously if he's sprinting every single game, sorry guys, 1 second, try and sort that out. Not really done anything. It'll come back in a sec, just listen for now. Yeah, obviously if he's relying on recovery pace, it's gonna cause him an injury eventually in the hamstring, because of all the stop starting. You've got to think about VAR nowadays in terms of stopping the game when muscles cooling down, going to sprint again really far, like at full pace. He's gonna pull a muscle at some point, and it doesn't help Ange's system. The high line they play, I understand what he's trying to do and entertaining football and all that, but it's criminal. The high line, I want to say, is criminal. He's obviously tweaked it a little bit in recent weeks to try and solidify the defence, and maybe he'll look to the long term to try and fix it a little bit, so they're not, oh god, I do apologise, guys. That is not something I can do much about. Like I said, just listen. You don't need to watch. Yeah, it's tricky with Ange because his system relies on heavy pressing and fast defenders and full pace 90 minutes. And when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. We've seen it with Liverpool this season when they got battered at home 6-3, which that scoreline flattered them massively. So yeah, I look at their injuries and I go, a lot of them are self-inflicted. Some of them aren't. When I look at like Maddison, I think maybe he could step up a bit more. You know, play through some more of the minor injuries like some players do nowadays. That feels like it's going out of the game slowly, like playing through injury. I don't feel like I see that enough for players nowadays. I'm not saying they should have to do it, but I'm saying if I was a player, I think I'd be playing through injury. I used to do it Sunday League, like maybe that was just me trying to be like, I don't know, tough guy or whatever, but if you're playing football, I look at Ben White. He was playing with an injury for like over a year. He was playing through one. So I'm not accusing Maddison not doing that. I'm just saying if he's out very frequently and he comes back quite quickly, normally, you know. But anyway, they've had many injuries, but they've not had more than Brighton or Bournemouth. So how do they explain being so far off them in the table? And it comes down to, first of all, manager, second of all, squad composition. It's something that I mentioned with Arsenal when I did my video on them, how the squad is constructed to deal with injuries. And Brighton, they've actually got a very deep squad with a lot of talent in it. I am really sorry, guys. I'm trying to fix this, but I can't really do anything about it. Yeah, but if you look at Brighton's forward line, it actually has a lot of depth in, and it makes it a pain in the arse to try and do fantasy with Brighton because they can rotate so much. Obviously, at one point they had Joao Pedro, Danny Welbeck, and Evan Ferguson as striking options. You look at their attacking options. You've also obviously got Matoma, Minter, Ruter, Ayari. I forget what the other youngster's called. The name just escaped me. You got a young German there. You had Enciso, obviously, before he went out on loan. Like, they are stacked. And there's definitely some I've forgotten. A Dingra as well. Like, they are stacked in that department. Even in defence, they've got good options. So, yeah, you look at Brighton and they've got a squad. So there's no reason that Tottenham shouldn't have a squad that can deal with these injuries. Like, they've got 3 centre halves, I think, Dragerson, Romero, and Van de Ven. That's crazy. Especially with the system, like I'm saying, they should have been prepared much more for an injury to come. And I feel like anywhere when you're building a squad, you always have to have it in the back of your mind. What if this happens? And I think that's going out. That's obviously it's expensive for clubs to fix that now because they don't want to have too many players who are big players because they're all going to want to play and then they'll get unhappiness. But I look at Tottenham and I say clearly they know they made a mistake because they went after Mark Gahey in January for 70 million. So they obviously know they made a mistake in the summer by not going to get a central defender. And yeah, they've been made to pay for that mistake. I think it's very similar to an Arsenal situation in terms of that structure of the squad. They have so many wingers and attacking players, but in defence they are quite light. Like Jed Spence had barely played. I forgot he was at Spurs basically until the injury crisis came, and that's also to do with Ange because he hasn't rotated these players around. So someone like Udogie probably needed a bit of rotation, you know, give Spence some minutes. But he clearly doesn't trust he didn't trust some of these players. He might trust Spence more now, but originally clearly didn't trust them, you know. And then some of their transfer policy has been a bit, I don't know. You got like Timo Werner still knocking around there. I like Son, but Son's not been the same player for 18 months or more than that now, since the beginning of the last season. Really, he hasn't been the same player, and they should have looked to either move him on or make him a bit part player. You know, you shouldn't have to rely on a 33-year-old Son. So a fair play to Son though. He's been available all season, so he's set an example for the rest of that squad. And like I said, I do actually like Son, and if they're going to keep him on, it shouldn't have been in a capacity where they were relying on him. So yeah, squad composition and the manager's tactics, I think, have played a massive role in these injuries, and how they've been managed. One thing I haven't really liked from Ange is Archie Gray. Now, when they signed him as a holding midfielder, yeah, he's 18 years old and a holding mid. And I know Ange he's struggled with injuries, but to throw an 18-year-old out of position into the Premier League, he probably hadn't even been training there this season until the injuries happened. So he's probably trained there for like a week, maybe two max, before he got put in there, and then you're asking him to play, and I just don't see it as being fair to Archie Gray. His hand got forced, I get it, but I just don't like that fact. I feel like you've asked a lot of him, and I'm pretty sure I've seen on like Football or something like that, he's the lowest rated player in the Premier League this season, like as in terms of match ratings overall on average. And it's, first of all, his confidence is probably not the highest right now because of that. But second of all, opinions matter on players, you know, and people will judge him off of this season. I know they shouldn't judge him because he's never played centre half in his life, basically. But people will judge him, and they'll remember if he hasn't been exceptional. And of course, he has not been exceptional because, like I said, he's 18 years old, playing in the Premier League, out of position. Like, I didn't agree with that. I think they should have gone harder for another centre half in January. I think they could have found ways around it. They definitely would have been other options you could have put in there. I just think it's harsh to put an 18-year-old in there when he lacks experience as it is. And you probably put, I think at one point they had Ben Davies in that show. I don't mind, but I'm pretty sure at one point they had like one of the youngest defences in the league and no centre halves. It's like, well, you're just asking for trouble. Having said all that, he has gotten through in the Europa League, so they have every chance of getting through into the latter stages now, and for all we know, they could go on and win it. And it's the same as United. It'd be a minor miracle if they do, considering the season they've had in the Premier League. But it would be absolutely huge for the club if they could win that Europa League, and they definitely have a chance of doing it. I think the biggest teams they have to watch out for are Man United and Bilbao. I might have forgotten someone in there, but those are the two names that I look at and go, them two I put them as favourites ahead of Spurs. I don't get how Spurs are 1 point the favourites for the Europa League because they've never won a trophy. Well, they haven't won a major trophy in over 15 years, I think it is, like 2009. I think the last major trophy was. So this squad has no experience of winning a trophy, but then put as favourites. So I just didn't understand that. But they might win it. You know, there's every chance they could. I hope they don't. But yeah, there's a chance they could actually win that. So I want to speak about how long does Ange get, because the pressure is mounting on him. And one quote that I actually loved from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer once was, "The league table does not lie. The league table is the be-all and end-all on how a manager's judged. They can win all the trophies they want, but at the end of the day, you get judged on your league form, and where you finish in the league is how good a manager you are a lot of the time." It's basically along the lines of what you were saying. So Tottenham want to be a European team, right? But how are they meant to be a European team if they're going to be finishing 15th in the Premier League? I don't know how much longer he gets, but the club is a mess in my opinion, because they've had the nice football before with Poch. They've had 2 serial winners since then with Mourinho and Conte, and that didn't work either. So then you're looking at the club and saying, well, what do you want then? Make up your mind, because if you want good football and trophies, you're asking for Pep Guardiola. That's not doable, you know. So they've definitely got to, sorry guys, got blinded there. So they've got to think about, and the owners have to think about, right, what do we actually want? Because Levy, he wants money, let's be honest. He's a businessman, he wants to make money. And if they come 15th in the table and don't get Champions League football through the Europa League next season, he's not making money. So how much longer he gets is going to be very much dependent on the next. I think they'll give him this season, but I think they're going to expect to see results next season in terms of them competing for that top 4. And it's going to be very dependent on how much they back him in the summer. They spent a lot last summer. Like Dom Solanke was £65 million, so they have spent in the summer window, and they clearly have the money. Because I'm pretty sure when I was watching the Overlap, I think the one with Carragher and Scholes on, they had like one of the finance experts from football, and he was saying the Spurs are the most profitable team in the league, Arsenal number 2, but Spurs are the most profitable one. So they clearly have money to spend, and they're going to have to spend it wisely this summer, because they spent big with Ange. You know, Brendan Johnson as well, 50 mil. They're just getting random numbers pop into my head. So, but the thing is, if they don't get Champions League football, that means they have no European football at all next season. How many players can you attract? And they'll be like, oh no, we attracted Mateus Tel, but Tel's has an option to buy, which, if Fabrizio was correct when he reported, Tel can say no to the option. He can also say no, I don't want to come, because originally he said no to the transfer, didn't he? Permanent transfer. So Spurs were like, oh okay, but Spurs went back basically and kind of tail between their legs, went, look, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. That's the basics of it. Like, he has the option to say no to the option clause. So it's going to be, I think they might struggle in the summer to attract talent, because no one's going to want to come to a team who's in the bottom half without actual ambitions of winning trophies, because they haven't shown the ambitions to win trophies. The project looks like it's stalled. Maybe Ange is going to be a sweet talker like Arteta does with his signings, and they always say, oh, we signed because of the manager. Maybe it'll happen with Ange. Maybe he'll get that same feeling out of it. But he's going to have to get backed again, because they have to overhaul some of that squad. They've got to replace Son with another left winger, for sure. Central midfield, I think they probably have to have a look at. Bergvall has been outstanding for them, but outside of him, Basuma's looked off it. Mapassar, I don't know. I think he's more of a squad player. Yeah, I think he's more of a squad player. And then Madison, Kulusevski, more of 8s. the way he wants to play and look at it, and maybe Archie Gray's the answer in midfield actually for as number 6 in the future. Maybe not right now. I think he needs to probably develop a bit more and build into himself a bit more in terms of physically. But I like the idea of Kulusevski and Maddison as 2 flying 8s, operating as almost like 10s. But you need to have an anchor in the. You need to have an anchor as a 6 there. You know, Man City have Rodri, and Liverpool got Gravenberch. Tottenham have got Papasar or Basuma right now, and Bergvall is not a, you know, he's not an anchor. So Bergvall, in my opinion, should be coming in for Kulusevski or Maddison, and then dropping out. You know, he should be developing his skills and honing them while playing more limited minutes, not being relied upon as much. Well, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, he's been very good. Yeah, and then I think I look at the keeper. I like Vicario. I liked him in the first season, but he gives me sort of Donnarumma vibes when the ball gets put in the air in the box. He cannot come for crosses, and maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe they just need to work on their set pieces more, which actually is a separate point in itself that I want to go on to. But they definitely need to reinforce at the back. 100% need to reinforce at the back. You probably need to have another left back if Dogi's still going to be injury prone, and then you have 2 right backs with Spence and Porros wants to go left back as well. Centre backs, you've also got Danso who's come in, but then you've got 3 centre backs who are pretty injury prone now, to be fair. Romero's been a bit injury prone. Van de Ven is, if once the hamstring goes, especially you see it in like very fast players, it's quite hard to keep them fully fit for a whole season, and it might go again at some point. So I think I'll definitely have to get another centre half in. Maybe I'll do a how to fix Tottenham as well at some point. I definitely want to do a how to fix Man United and go through like the whole squad and just like axe, keep sort of thing, and then see who they can bring in, see where it leaves us. Kind of like an FM vibe, it'd be quite cool. But anyway, I want to quickly touch on set pieces, because that's one thing that Ange, he's got seriously wrong, and he won't admit it, and I think it's because he's stubborn. If the best manager in the world, in Pep Guardiola, has a set piece coach, then I don't know who Ange thinks he is to not have a set piece coach. And it's not like they're not conceding set pieces. They concede in set pieces. Like, they're losing games because of set pieces. I remember the North London derby, we scored from a set piece and we could have scored a few. And to be honest, we probably didn't even deserve to win the game at some points. Like, it was a bit, but we win games because of set pieces. And that's what Ange needs to get over and realise it's a massive part of the game. And if Pep Guardiola's doing it, Mikel Arteta's doing it, every club basically has a set piece coach now. Maybe it's something I should be looking at, because he's clearly not an expert in set pieces. But yeah, it's interesting with Spurs. I think they're going to continue to struggle this season. I know people think, oh, the injuries are back now, they're going to be fine. I still think they're going to struggle. I think, I'll be doing my predicted video soon. I know I keep saying it every video. I think they'll still come about 15th. I think they're going to be very inconsistent and they'll get the odd win. But just because these injuries come back, the momentum isn't there for them right now. And it takes players a while to warm back up after injury. So I think Ange gets to the end of next season. If they haven't picked up their form, I think you can be looking at Ange on the way out. But there's every chance he could pick up his form next season with a fully fit squad if he tweaks a couple of his tactics. But yeah, I just think this season's a write-off for them. They need to focus on that Europa League, and don't be surprised if they do finish 15th in the league. Alright, thank you guys for coming along today. If you can see me, thank you. and enjoy it. Peace.